Hello and welcome to DM classes. Welcome to the session of daily MCQ practice. Let us start our discussion. This article has been taken from today's The Indian Express dated 31st of March 2026, wherein the article mentions about NASA's launch of Artemis II mission, which will be humanity's first trip to moon in over 50 years after the Apollo 11 mission. So as you can see from this question, the questions regarding space missions are recurring themes asked in SSC and SSB level exams. So we will utilize this opportunity to revise various space missions of India and of other countries as well. So let us start our discussion with the first question regarding the Artemis program itself. The question says, with reference to the Artemis program, consider the following statements. The first statement says, Artemis missions are being undertaken by NASA to return humans to the moon after the Apollo program. Yes, this statement is correct. As this Artemis mission is being undertaken by NASA. Yes, of course, it is being taken by undertaken by NASA to return humans to moon after the Apollo program. Yes, this statement is correct. Artemis second statement says Artemis 2 will send astronauts around the moon without landing. Without landing is very important. So this statement is also correct, as this mission is aiming for sending astronauts around the moon and not without the landing and not landing on the moon surface. This statement is also correct. Statement 3 says Artemis program aims to establish long-term human presence on the moon. Yes, the long-term aim of this mission is to establish long-term human presence on the moon. This statement is also correct. Statement 4 says Artemis 2 will include landing of astronauts on lunar surface. As you saw from the above, this mission is not aiming for landing astronauts on the moon surface. Therefore, this statement becomes incorrect, as the mission is only aims to hover around the moon and conduct a flyby experiment and not landing on the lunar surface. So the correct option, as per the discussion, becomes only 1, 2, and 3 statements are correct. So let's now move on to the next question. But the question says, match the following Indian space missions with their objectives. List 1 is regarding missions and list 2 contains the objectives of these missions. First is Chandrayaan 3. Chandrayaan 3 is India's to demonstrate soft landing on the moon. This mission is to demonstrate soft landing on the moon. So this will be Chandrayaan 3's mission. Aditya L1 mission. It's the India's to study sun from the Lagrangian point, L1 point. This statement is this B option will be to study the sun from the Lagrangian point. And C is the Mangalyaan mission. Mangalyaan mission is the India's Mars orbital exploration mission. And D statement is Gaganyaan. Gaganyaan is the human space flight mission. It will be a human space flight mission. So as per the discussion, the correct option becomes option A. As you can see, Chandrayaan 3 aims for soft landing on the moon, and Aditya L1 is the to study sun from the Lagrangian point 1, and Mangalyaan is Mars orbiter mission. Gaganyaan is human space flight mission of India. So let's now move on to the next question. With reference to the Apollo 11 mission, consider the following statements. The statement 1 says it was first mission to land humans on the moon. This statement is factually correct. This is correct statement. Second statement says the mission was carried out jointly by NASA and European Space Agency. This statement is incorrect, as the mission was only conducted by NASA and not by European Space Agency. The third statement says Neil Armstrong became the first human to step on the moon. This statement is correct, as this was as the astronaut that was accompanying this mission was Neil Armstrong, and he became the first human to step on the moon. So as per this discussion, the correct option to this question becomes option 1 and 3 only. As you can see, statement 1 is correct. Apollo 11 was the first human moon landing in 1969 conducted by NASA. Statement 2 is incorrect. It was only NASA and not European Space Mission Agency. So statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 3 says Neil Armstrong was the first human to land on the moon. This statement is correct. So moving on to our next question. The question says, with reference to the International Space Station, consider the following statements. It's a joint project involving multiple space agencies. This statement is correct. As you can see, this is a joint state mission by NASA, Roscosmos, ESA and JAXA. This statement becomes factually correct. The second statement says it orbits the moon. The International Space Station orbits the moon. This statement is incorrect. As you can see, International Space Station orbits Earth and not the moon. This statement is incorrect. Next statement says it's used for microgravity scientific research. This mission, International Space Station, is used for microgravity scientific research. This statement is correct. So as per the discussion, the right answer becomes 1 and 3 only, that is C option. So let's now move on to the next question. With regards to, the question asks us, with regards to the James Webb Space Telescope, consider the following statements. It observes universe primarily in infrared wavelengths. Yes, this statement is correct. It observes universe works mainly in infrared wavelengths. This James Webb Space Telescope, it works mainly on infrared wavelengths. The statement becomes correct. The next statement says it's placed at Sun-Earth L2 point. It's placed at Sun-Earth L2 point. This statement is also correct because this James Webb Space Telescope is placed at Sun-Earth L2 point, Lagrangian point 2. And the third statement says it replaced the International Space Station. This statement is incorrect. It did not replace International Space Station. Rather, it has some different purposes. So the correct answer to this question becomes only 1 and 2. So this was all about the discussion regarding various space missions of India and other various countries. So you should remember these space missions and their aim, because these are the recurring themes in various SSB and SSC level exams. So we hope you really got a good understanding of these missions. You should remember the objectives and the missions of various countries, in particular India, so to get an edge in solving MCQs.